When the police officer started talking to this young man, he violated his rights. Let me let you hear how this happened right now, everybody. Let's listen to the Defiant lawyer. This brother right here, I got a lot of respect for him. Definitely subscribe to his channel, The Defiant Lawyers. That's his daughter right there. They have a law firm in the Texas area. He knows his law. Thank you, Ronnie Hunter, for the $20. Tell the truth. You damn right I'm telling the truth over here. This is what separates my channel from most channels on YouTube streets, because, yeah, I can give you opinion, but I can also dig into what the truth is about the law. And I can find you clips and things from people that know what they're talking about. With that said, everybody, let's get ready to hear this right now. Let's information mine your ass right now. Check this out.
David Kuykendall Stadium. FPD, that's Frisco PD, call notes indicated that an athlete was stabbed. The suspect was...
Everybody put sevens in the chat room when I hit the button again to let me know that you can hear the audio just well. Here we go. I'm going to move this back, and here we go. He's got the report up. He's got the actual report that was put out there that we can all download and look at ourselves, and he's going to find the glaring errors of what the police did wrong. For you Negroes out there, you buck dancers out there that's setting up here criticizing black folks who are supporting the young man, who are looking at the other perspectives of this case, who are buck dancing like you have been doing and raccooning around. How many of you were able to dig this little part out that he's going to talk to you about? He's a lawyer, and y'all dummies don't even understand how law works. He dug it out, and I'm showing it. Go ahead, my brother.
5'9", he weighs 130 pounds, so he's a small kid. He's a small, skinny little kid. Okay, I'm sorry that he's in this situation, and I'm certainly sorry that the Metcalf lost a son. This is tragic all the way around.
Naps TV, thank you for being here, and I'm going to say this again. I am not a promoter of people's lives being taken away. And to the kids out there listening to this stream, Information Man and the show here, we are not saying that you should go out and do what Karmelo Anthony did with a knife. Don't do that. You can end up in prison because Karmelo Anthony is not home with his family. He is not home with his family, y'all. I just got to say this before I start. He is not home with his family. And because he's not at home with his family, he is in a jail, detention center. He's probably crying. He's probably all sorts of messed up mentally. Don't do it. But I'm going to say it again for everybody that keeps saying, why did he have a knife? How many of you in the chat room are from Texas by putting Texas in there? You're going to know what I was going to say right now. It's part of the culture. White boys, black kids, every kids and adults in Texas are walking around with some type of weapon on their person. Not every kid, but what they say is that it's a norm in Texas for adults and even young people to sometimes have a knife on their person. I'm saying that Karmelo probably had that knife because he lives in Texas. He's grown up in the culture. And what about all them white boys that be having them buck knives, huh? What about them white boys? You can see it on YouTube when you got YouTubers that open up packages. Next thing you know, these white boys on YouTube who be doing these package opening videos. What's the first thing that come out of their pocket? They pull out a knife. While they opening up the Amazon pack. They always got knives. I don't want to stereotype, but a lot of them be having them knives, and y'all know it's the truth.
Tell the truth.
Especially in Texas, especially in Louisiana and places like that. Let's get back to it.
So we see here that Karmelo is charged with murder under Texas Penal Code 19.02.
Wow.
All right. And we're going to talk about what that means in just a moment.
Okay.
But right now, I want us to read a few things that I have highlighted here. On April 2nd, 2025, at 10:01 hours, that's 10 o'clock in the morning, I, Staley School Resource Officer E. Cortez, heard over the radio dispatch call out a stabbing call at David Kaikendall.
Right here is I actually enlarge what he's reading, and I'm going to let him continue reading.
Stadium. FPD, that's Frisco PD, call notes indicated that an athlete was stabbed. The suspect was reported as being a black male wearing a gray hoodie and blue sweatpants. Now, I want to show you something here that may not mean anything, but it stood out to me when I read this. So just underscore that he made a note that the suspect is a black male.
Mm-hmm.
I immediately left my office and ran across the Staley Middle School parking lot towards a southwest entrance into the stadium. As I entered the stadium, 2 high school age students informed me that the victim was on the north end of stadium by the bleachers under Memorial High School tent. In parentheses, he got, I did not identify these students. So there was no mentioning of their race. Okay, there's no mentioning of their race. Next, I proceeded towards the north end of the stadium, visitors' side, on foot. As I got closer to the north end, I could see the Memorial High School tent.
Can you all hear? Put 7s if you can hear.
With multiple individuals under the tent. Once I arrived into the north side bleachers, an adult male who was on the track pointed out the suspect. I was not able to identify that witness.
So as you can see, the Defiant lawyer is breaking it down. The brother is really breaking it down. Once I arrived onto the north side of the bleachers, an adult male who was on the track pointed out the suspect. I was not able to identify that witness. The individual that was pointed out to me was a black male wearing a gray hoodie sweater and dark colored Nike pants.
So here on 2 separate occasions, he didn't write. He wrote adult male. He didn't write Hispanic adult male. He didn't write white adult male. He didn't write for the 2 high school students above, 1 white, 1 Hispanic, 1 black. No, he just identified the race of the suspect in this case. That may have been nothing, but it certainly does stand out to me. All right, let's keep reading. Now we're going to get into some very important legal lessons that I want to share with you here.
Listen to the man.
So he goes on to say, I gave the suspect instructions to keep his hands up in the air. All right, so he had the suspect, who was Karmelo Anthony. He says, I gave basically Karmelo instructions to keep his hands up in the air. So Karmelo had his hands up. During this time, the suspect said verbally out loud, I was protecting myself.
Stop it right there. Let's hear it again.
Told the officer he was protecting himself, and that he said Metcalf put his hands on him. And we say that Anthony told the officer he was protecting himself, and that he said Metcalf put his hands on him. And we say that Anthony told the officer.
Anthony told the officers, everybody, again, let's drill that home, that Metcalf, we don't want people to have their lives taken, but Metcalf, according to Karmelo Anthony, Metcalf put his hands on him. That's what was reported in the news. I played that for you. Let's continue with the Defiant lawyer.
Now, let's go back. I point out that the officer said he instructed Karmelo to keep his hands up in the air. That means that he had Karmelo detained.
Listen.
He wasn't arrested, but he was detained. He was detained. Now, the reason I bring that up, and this is what we have to do when we're representing people, we have to go through each line of these reports and the discovery that we get, and we got to pick them apart. So he had the young man with his hands up. That means that young man was not free to leave. He was detained. And because he was detained, what he should have done, what the officer should have done, was read him his Miranda warning.
Right. Do y'all hear what the Defiant lawyer is saying? When he detained him, he was supposed to read him his Miranda rights. He was supposed to say, young man, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to attorney. You cannot afford an attorney. We will appoint one for you. If you decide to answer questions now without an attorney present, you will still have the right to stop answering any time until you talk to an attorney. This sucker, the police, the Frisco police officer, Cortez, whatever the hell his name is, he did not read this young man his Miranda rights. And he knew that he was a minor with no parents there to guide him. And this is called manipulation. This goes for not only what happened to this young boy, this goes for all of us too. This goes for all of us. Do you understand what I'm saying? It goes for all of us in this chat room. It goes for all of us. If we get stopped by an officer, we could be in the same situation. Not that we took someone's life, but we could be in any situation where somebody can even accuse us of something that we didn't do, and these cops can come rolling up on you. And asking you all type of questions that they've got no business asking you when they haven't even read you your Miranda rights. And they say that justice is blind. Bullshit. She sees every damn thing. Justice isn't blind. They see color. They see race. They see class. The justice system is run by people. People are naturally flawed. People are naturally flawed and biased. So how can the justice system be justice? It hasn't been justice for us consistently. Now, again, this doesn't mean that I advocate that you do what Karmelo Anthony did, because this young man is looking at some serious time if it doesn't go his way, if things don't go well for him. What do you all think? Put those sevens in the chat room. Let's get back to the Defiant lawyer and what he is saying here again. Back to the man. Thank you.
Warnings. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law.
That's right.
You have the right to an attorney. One will be appointed you if you can't afford it. All right. That's what he should have done, because notice what happens. During this time, the suspect said verbally out loud, quote, "I was protecting myself," close quote. Well, had the officer read him the Miranda warning, listen to it again. You have the right to remain silent. That would have triggered, it could have triggered in Karmelo's mind that he probably doesn't need to say anything.
Do you all understand what Corbett Esquire, you understand what the Defiant lawyer is talking? He got a great YouTube channel. Y'all should subscribe. Peace and respect to the brother. Do you understand what he is saying? This can be used for any of us. This is what we should be teaching our kids if they unfortunately have to encounter police. Do you get where we're going here? My channel and my program ain't about BS. I'm also about informing people, educating people, having solutions, as well as just not just talking about it. But in this case, the Defiant lawyer is providing us powerful information that we need to spread this. Instead of spreading misinformation, we should be spreading this type of information. Let's continue.
Because you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say will and can be used against you. But this was a kid, a 17-year-old kid, absolutely did not understand, right, that he could be quiet. And it was the responsibility of this officer to tell him
That's right.
That you have the right to remain silent. You have the right to a lawyer.
Do you all, please let me know. Please let me know, everybody. Are you totally in tune with what the lawyer is saying? Of the Defiant lawyer, you can find him on YouTube. He ain't no paper. This ain't no BS over here. He's legitimate. Has his own law firm. Been practicing law for a long time. This man lives in the state of Texas. Understands Texas law. Giving us something that we need to be reminded. Even if you know this shit already, you still should be reminded. Because we're living in the days now where, hell, you never know what we could be running up against any time in our life. Let's get back.
Any and everything you say, we're going to use against you. If you don't have money for a lawyer, you will be given one. See, that matter would have caused young Karmelo to keep his mouth shut.
Right.
But he didn't.
Right. Remember Judge Joe Brown, and I know people either can't stand Joe Brown or you like Joe Brown. Remember I played the video that I did yesterday, and thank you all for supporting the channel. This channel is it's uniting. It's starting to really, I'm putting out a lot of content, and it's the best way for the channel to go because I'm keeping people engaged on the channel. But remember the video I did on Judge Joe Brown when he said that Karmelo messed up by running his mouth and saying, hey, can I use self-defense, right? Remember how Judge Joe Brown kind of scolded the young man? But this, I gave you that perspective from Judge Joe Brown yesterday, which was a rough one. But now I'm giving you a more calmer perspective from someone that's a lawyer working in law as of right now. And Judge Joe Brown, the reason why Karmelo Anthony made the mistake that he made because he probably didn't understand or did not know the law that well. But he also had a police officer who did not do his job, sir, in enforcing the Miranda rights and letting that young man know that he didn't have to talk. So Judge Joe Brown, brother, you said some things on that podcast that had some validity to it. But as a judge of experience, you should have also recognized that, maybe the cop manipulated Karmelo Anthony. And you also said something that made sense on that podcast with the real Dana, and shout out to her, respect to her. You said that they've overcharged him with the first degree, which should not have been charged with that. He should have been charged with second degree, and he should not have $1 million bail when you've got Kyle Rittenhouse, George Zimmerman, Daniel Penny, all them other suckers out there. They didn't have $1 million bail or bond. Are y'all with me, ladies and gentlemen? Hit the damn sevens.
So he said, I was protecting myself. And I bring that up. Let me just say this. I bring all of this up to say that if this was our client, and I'm sure Mr. Clark and Miss Cole will be thinking along these lines as well, we would file a motion to suppress these statements on the basis that Karmelo's constitutional rights were violated. His Fifth Amendment right to remain silent was violated because the cop failed to do what he was legally obligated to do under Supreme Court precedent.
Woo! Did y'all hear what he said? Let's stop playing around here. Did y'all hear what the Defiant lawyer said? Everybody, come on now. Put those sevens in there and let me know you heard exactly what he said and you understood what he said, that he violated Supreme Court law when he did not read the Miranda rights. Everything now has to be thrown out in court. So when this goes to court, anything that Karmelo Anthony said that can come off as kind of weird to the prosecution that they could use to make him look like he was premeditatedly trying to do this, And I already read to you what premeditation is. You plan it out. There's no evidence that he planned to do this. So those of you out there talking that, shut up. Because y'all didn't even pick up on what I'm talking about tonight. A lot of people didn't even pick up on this little part right here, that his Miranda rights were not read to him. You got a skilled lawyer here who's telling you he read the document and he could see where they messed up. Let me enlarge the document right here. Let me show y'all something. Bam. During the time the suspect said verbally out loud, I was protecting myself. It should be noted that I had not questioned him about the incident. When I made that comment, I asked him if he had any weapons. Before you start asking him did he have weapons, you should have been telling him what his rights are. He should have been telling him what his rights are. Do you guys agree? Karmelo Anthony said out loud verbally, I was protecting myself. Now remember, this is the police officer's report. This could be thrown out in court. That's why when we get to downloading these documents on YouTube as content creators and reading this as if it's completely the truth, this officer could be lying. As much as you want to probably think that Karmelo Anthony is lying, the officer could be lying in his report. He could be exaggerating his report because he already started off wrong when he didn't read the young man his Miranda rights. During this time, the suspect verbally out loud said, I was protecting myself. It should be noted that I had not questioned him about the incident. When I made that comment, I asked him if he had any weapons, and he said no. I patted him down for weapons while we were walking along the fence, and I did not locate any on his person. First of all, why didn't he not read him his Miranda rights first? Because check this out, everybody. Check this out. Karmelo Anthony didn't have to answer any of those questions about whether he had a weapon on him. He didn't have to answer anything that the police asked him. He could simply have said, I'm remaining silent until I see my lawyer and family. Karmelo Anthony had that right under the Fifth Amendment. It was violated by this police officer when this officer failed to first conduct the Miranda rights first. And he knew he was dealing with a minor, so he knew he could manipulate him. Let's hear the rest from the Defiant lawyer. Break this down.
Once he detained him to read him his Miranda warnings. Okay? All right. It should be noted that I had not questioned him about the incident when he made that comment. Now, that would be their argument. That's going to be their argument if a motion to suppress comes up, which is I didn't read him his Miranda warnings because I had not begun to interrogate him. Well, we would say that doesn't matter. We would still argue. In fact, I've gotten, I remember a huge case where they did the same thing to our client. I got that case dismissed because the officer did the very same thing.
You hear what he just said? He's actually had clients in the same situation that he had to fight to get them off on that situation because the Miranda rights were not read. And he said that the police is going to make it look like he hadn't interrogated them yet. Yes, you are. You're interrogating him the minute you interacted with him and start talking about, do you got weapons? Come over here. You already had him detained. When you are detained under the law, that means anytime a police officer, ladies and gentlemen, anytime a police officer, you come in contact with a police officer and you're not able to get in your car and leave, you're not able to walk away, and he starts questioning you, you are detained. They have you detained because being detained means you can't go about your way. And when they have you detained, because they want to start asking you questions to see if they got the right jurisdiction now to put your ass under arrest. Let's continue right here. Let's get back to it, y'all.
And our client confessed to the incident, but we got that confession, that statement, we got all that thrown out of court, and the case then was dismissed because that was the only evidence they had. I'm not saying that in this case. I'm not saying that what Karmelo said is the only evidence in this case. I don't know that to be true. Okay, from what's in this report, there were witnesses. So I don't know, and I'm not going to get a lot into the facts because I just don't know. All I have is this arrest report, and that's the police's side. That's those other witnesses' side. I can't. I've been doing this too long. I will not put a whole lot of credence into this report. But
boom! Did you hear what he just said? He will not put a whole lot of credence into the report. As I said earlier in this podcast tonight, everybody, when they come out with these type of reports, that report could have flaws in it. It could have all sort of mistakes. And sometimes the jury, because he said that you're going to hear him say, sometimes the jury never even sees that police report. They're going to look at what the hard evidence is. They're going to look at eyewitnesses that were there. They're going to look at physical evidence. If there's blood or stains or what have you, they're going to look at those sort of things. Sometimes these police reports don't ever see the light of day because they can see all the flaws in them because the defense team or the prosecution will shoot through the holes in that report. This is how the law works. This is not in the window. This is how the law works. He said it himself. This is where y'all gonna get the damn truth at.
Tell the truth.
This is where you get the truth. Let's go.
I want to read this part to teach you all.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if you are detained, they should read you your Miranda warnings. But even if you don't have, even if they haven't read you your Miranda warnings, you need to know that you have the right to be quiet, and you need to be quiet. You don't need to say anything.
That's where Judge Joe Brown in the video that I did yesterday, even though he's a he's a rough son of a you-know-what, that's where Judge Joe Brown was right about shutting your damn mouth up. But to Karmelo Anthony's situation, he's a young man who probably don't know the law like that. And let's be honest, he's 17 years old. He probably got nervous. You know, he just did something that was terrific in nature. It was horrific in nature. He got nervous. He did say, is he going to be okay? Is he alive? He asked questions that a person asks that has some empathy and sympathy, even though the act itself was bad. A psychopath and a person who premeditatedly does something like this, they don't ask those type of questions, y'all. Okay, let's get back to this.
Anything. If you have children, juveniles that the police want to talk to, no. You have a Fifth Amendment right to say no.
He's absolutely right. Thank you. We got more. We got more. We got more, y'all. This is look, this is about the truth. Obviously, there's a lot of things that we don't know about the case that will come out in court, but the lawyer is giving you a great perspective. The Defiant Lawyer, make sure y'all check out his channel. That's the name of the channel. The Defiant Lawyer is telling the truth. He's keeping it 100% real.
Tell the truth.
And you're not going to get this type of truth too many places. Let's get at it again.
Police want to talk to, no. You have a Fifth Amendment right to say no. That's why the framers put it in the Constitution. Because the state or the feds shouldn't be able to force you to incriminate yourself.
Right.
Okay? So this is a kid. So he doesn't know, and the officer didn't inform him.
Right.
I asked him if he had any weapons. Okay, here's a question. Here's a question. Now, he says I hadn't questioned him before he started talking. In other words, they would argue that what Karmelo said before the officer asked him anything was voluntarily given. Therefore, it is not protected by the Fifth Amendment. Now, whether it was before or after, he still should have read those Miranda warnings, and we don't know what is true.
Did you just hear what he said? Let's hear that part again. Check it out. Truth is spoken.
They would argue that what Karmelo said before the officer asked him anything was voluntarily given. Therefore, it is not protected by the Fifth Amendment. Now, whether it was before or after, he still should have read those Miranda warnings, and we don't know what is true. We don't know if he asked the question before Karmelo said what he said. We don't know. The body cam, there is body cam here from what he says in this report. The body cam will determine that, and the defense will get that body cam footage to see if those statements, if what Karmelo said should have been Mirandized, if he should have been Mirandized first. So anyway, he did ask him.
Everybody by votes in the chat room, if you believed that Karmelo Anthony should have been Mirandized, if you agree with what the Defiant lawyer, Corbett Esquire, what he's saying, if you believe what he's saying is true, put sevens in the chat room immediately. If you believe that what he is saying is the facts and nothing but the facts, put sevens in the chat room. Let's get it going.
A question. I asked him if he had any weapons. Now, I want you to understand, because he was detained and because he was now being directly interrogated, this was another chance for this officer to Mirandize this kid. And there's nothing in this record that says he was Mirandized. Nothing in here to say that. So this is a violation of this kid's Fifth Amendment right, his constitutional right.
That's right.
And then everything that came after this violation of his constitutional right is what we call fruit of the poisonous tree. And the judge should not only suppress what.
This is legal talk, y'all. Fruit of the poisonous tree that he's saying here. See, this man knows his stuff.
Karmelo said in response, but everything he said in this report should be suppressed because it was extremely important for this kid. He's only 17. He doesn't know these things. He doesn't know anything about the law. He should have been Mirandized. Okay? And he didn't get that. And so he's saying all sorts of things because the police didn't Mirandize him. All right, let's go back. I asked him if he had any weapons, and he said no. I patted him down for weapons while we were walking along the fence. I did not locate any on his person. I instructed the male to continue walking along the fence, which he complied, towards an area where there was an opening in the fence that led off the track. While walking him off the track, the suspect also said, quote, he put his hands on me, close quote. Still no Miranda warning. Still no Miranda warning. Still, he didn't tell him he had the right to be silent. And so this young man, not knowing what he's doing, he's a kid. He's a kid.
That's right.
Right? Both him and the Metcalf kid. They were both kids, 17-year-old. I believe that the other kid was 17 as well.
That's right.
That's why this is such a tragedy. So meanwhile, Karmelo is still talking. He put his hands on me. Now, again, we don't know if all of this is true. We must, or his attorneys must see the body cam to confirm that Karmelo said any of this. So remember what I said earlier, don't take any of this to be true because it's a police report. It has not gone through the rules of evidence and so forth and so on.
Do you understand what he's saying, everybody? Police reports are not the final be-all to end-all because they have not gone through the proper channels, legal channels, to be cleared as something that's legitimate. Let's hear him say this again, because I can't say it. He can say it. He's the lawyer. Let's hear him say this again.
Tragedy. So meanwhile, Karmelo is still talking. He put his hands on me. Now, again, we don't know if all of this is true. we must, or his attorneys must see the body cam to confirm that Karmelo said any of this.
Facts.
So remember what I said earlier. Don't take any of this to be true because it's a police report. It has not gone through
Facts.
the rules of evidence and so forth and so on. And the jury will not see it. Okay? I then detained a suspect. Now, that's critical. He says, I then detained him. He was already detained. You're detained when you feel like you're detained. And I mean that. When you reasonably think that you can't leave, then you're detained.
You're detained.
And when a police officer tells you to keep your hands up in the air, you're detained.
You're detained.
He has restricted your movement.
Right.
You are detained at that point. If he got you like that, you're detained.
You're detained. That's right.
You are restricted. You can't put your hands down. You can't walk away. You are detained. So it looks like this officer is trying to, put things in here now that he knows need to be in there. So he says, I then detained the suspect in handcuffed behind his back. And let me tell you, you don't have to be handcuffed to be detained. If you feel like you can't leave, you are detained.
You hear what he's saying? Just because you're not in handcuffs does not mean that you are not detained. You're detained when you're in handcuffs, and even if they don't have you in handcuffs, you're detained because you can't go about your way. They're restricting you from going about your business. Let's get back to it.
Being handcuffed is another level of detention, but it's not required to be detained. And had him sit down on the ground. Officer Ricci had arrived on scene at that time. I conducted another pat down of his person and then searched his person after he gave me consent. Never do that. Never give them consent to search you.
Uh-oh.
Never. Ever. Don't do
hear
it.
that?
No weapons were located. Respectfully decline.
This is important, what he just said. This statement right here, very important, y'all. The Defiant lawyer is saying that you never, ever give consent to being searched, so basically, Karmelo Anthony, he didn't have to allow the police officer to even search him because he already screwed up when he did not read Karmelo Anthony his Miranda rights. So what I like to do, as a reminder to everyone listening, that this person right here who left me this live strong 2482, who left me this in the comment section from yesterday's video, you're stupid. You just said that the police did read him his Miranda rights, so what he said cannot be used against him in court. Bullshit. He did not read him his Miranda rights. We've already are looking at this in the document. I've already brought this up in the document right here. The lawyer who you hear talking right now is talking about this in the document. He did not read him his Miranda rights. He did not. Here we go. This is the document that I downloaded. Hell, I downloaded it to my phone and put it into my computer. It's a free download, everybody. It's a free download. You don't have to pay a dime for it. But this is the document right here. And in this document that I'm strolling up and down, I'm strolling right now, there is no, how can we say, there is no, what's going on, everybody? Everybody on that screen. I see you. There is no Miranda rights being read to this young man. So they completely screwed up everything in this situation, everybody. Let's get back. We have a little bit more of this to complete. Are you, everybody in the chat room, is the lawyer, Corbett Esquire, He has a YouTube channel, the Defiant Lawyers. He does great content over there. Are you getting a good, clear picture of what this brother is saying, how as it relates to Karmelo Anthony? Are you getting a good picture, as I put him up here, of what's going on here? The family has already said that they want a fair and balanced investigation, and something is not happening because I'm going to play you some other videos of their spokesperson calling out the bullshit. So there are things that's happening behind the scenes where people are getting this misinformation that Karmelo Anthony got kicked out of school because he had a knife, that Karmelo Anthony got into a fight at some party or some scuffle, something. All of that is lies. People are manufacturing things about this kid to make you think that he's guilty and that he's the monster that the media and that people want to make him out to be, including you raccoons on YouTube. You know who you are, the raccoons. And I'm going to go in hard on some of these raccoons on YouTube. Make sure y'all subscribe to the Truth Media Raw channel, where I'll be going in a little bit harder on that channel. Brand new channel. Be shorter videos over there, short videos. Subscribe to the True Media Raw channel. If one of the mods or some of the mods in the chat room, if you could run that channel link through the chat room, I would appreciate it. Thank you. Let's get back to this. Let's get back to this. Here we go.
Respectfully decline. In other words, while the suspect sat on the ground, I advised that I had the alleged suspect. Still no record whatsoever that he Mirandized this young man.
Right.
The suspect then responds and says, "I'm not alleged, I did it," close quote. Now that is what the officer said Karmelo said. Well, first of all, we don't know that he said that. We don't know that he said that. And if he did say it, this statement should be inadmissible. It should be suppressed because this officer did not Mirandize this young man.
So inadmissible, meaning it can't be brought forth in a trial because the officer has violated his civil rights, his rights to have the Fifth Amendment, not to speak, but to a lawyer, a counselor. And because the police officer, the Frisco police officer, failed in that duty, anything that Karmelo Anthony said technically could be thrown out in court and unadmissible in court, as the lawyer said, because of the way the information was gathered without making the young man aware of his rights and the fact that he can be silent and that he can wait to talk to a lawyer. And that he didn't even tell him that if you say something now to me, it could be used against you in court. If you say something that's a little, he didn't even tell him any of those things. He knew that he had a minor. He knew that he had a young kid and that he could play the game with this young kid by manipulation. Police officers are really good at making us, or not making us, but trying to get us to say something that maybe we really didn't want to say, or say the way we said it because we got the pressure of the authority or the police officer sort of making us feel nervous, making us feel uncomfortable. And then we begin to say things that we really wouldn't have said had we had proper counseling. And the damn cop knows that. And he was dealing with a minor, not now, technically, I did say in Texas, 17-year-olds are seen as adults. But it doesn't matter if he's seen as an adult or a minor. He still violated the law by not giving him his Miranda rights. That's the point of today's broadcast, y'all. That's the damn truth.
Tell the truth.
That's the truth. Let's get back.
And this was especially important because you're dealing with a 17-year-old young man, to my knowledge, that had never been in any trouble.
Right. We're going to say it again. Karmelo Anthony has a 3.7 grade point average. I'm saying this because they're telling you everything about the victim of this stabbing, Austin Metcalf. Well, Karmelo Anthony has no criminal background. This is another reason why I think Judge Joe Brown was saying that he should have never gotten first-degree charges and a high bail, because this young man has no priors. He has no prior offenses. He has no priors. 3.7 grade point average. Both parents at home. He was also a young man that maybe was hoping to get a scholarship to go to college, right? What made him snap and use a knife? I have no idea what took it there, other than the fact that Karmelo Anthony said out of his own mouth, I was defending myself, and he felt threatened. Why? Let me say this. Why is it that when a black person or a black young man says that he was threatened to defend himself, everybody, white folks, black folks too, everybody don't want to give him no benefit of the doubt? But y'all gave Kyle Rittenhouse the benefit of the doubt. You gave Daniel Penny the benefit of the doubt, and he got invited to hang out with the president, Donald Trump. Huh?
So Mirandizing him was critical. All right?
Let's hear that little part again.
Whatsoever that he Mirandized this young man. The suspect then responds and says, I'm not alleged, I did it, close quote. Now that is what the officer said, Karmelo said. Well, first of all, we don't know that he said that. We don't know that he said that. And if he did say it, this statement should be inadmissible. It should be suppressed because this officer did not Mirandize this young man. And this was especially important because you're dealing with a 17-year-old young man, to my knowledge, that had never been in any trouble.
Right.
So Mirandizing him was critical.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Next, Officer Rishi and I walked the suspect to patrol vehicle number 2412, which was on the northeast gate of Carkendale Stadium. I don't know how to pronounce that. As we were walking to the squad car, the suspect was emotional and said, he put his hands on me. I told him not to, close quote. I'm trying to stress a couple of things here, folks. I'm trying to stress that you don't talk to the police without an attorney.
Right.
I'm also trying to stress that you have the right not to talk to the police without an attorney present.
Right.
And third of all, I'm trying to stress that that cop violated this young man's constitutional rights by not Mirandizing him. That is required under our Constitution.
You hear what he just said?
So everything this young man said should be suppressed. Everything. Directly and as fruit of the poisonous tree.
Did you hear what he said? Did you hear what he said? That he violated Karmelo Anthony's rights under Supreme Court, under the laws, under the Constitution of the United States in the Fifth Amendment. So anything that he said should not be admissible in a trial, in a court of law, during a trial. It should be thrown out because the information was given without him knowing what his rights are. And the police officer had an obligation to do that, whether he was an adult or even a minor. And the police officer failed to do that. So therefore, as the lawyer was saying, you can watch the rest of his video. Go to his channel, the Defiant Lawyer Network. Check him out. He's got a great channel. As he was saying, this is one of the things that the defense team for Karmelo Anthony should be doing right out of the gate when this goes to trial, is looking at how he was violated when not given his Miranda rights. This is the thing that we need to be talking about. Let's not talk about, we can talk about our opinions about stuff. I've given my opinions about this case too. But when we find something that's about the law, that's facts, that's based in reality, we should emphasize these sort of things on our channels as it relates to this case. The hell with what the raccoons are saying. The raccoons on YouTube are always going to have something to say about black people because they don't like themselves. They're self-haters. But we need to stick with facts. We need to stick with what's the truth. We need to come with that truth. And I want to appreciate another CG for giving me a $20 super chat. Keep up the great work, thank you. Thank you very much. Let me do this for you.
Thank you for the super chat.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Now, let's go into another area of today's presentation as we get close to conclusion that I must play for you all. This is very important. Let's hear this right here. This is the young man who is part of the Next Generation Action Network that's been representing the family and what the family is going through. Remember, I said in the beginning of this broadcast that the family has been dealing with all kind of death threats, racial stuff, and what have you. This is the area that nobody wants to talk about, and none of these raccoons on the YouTube street, the raccoons, want to talk about this either. They just want to demonize. Let's hear this right now.
Let me be clear. The Anthony family cannot leave their home because of the growing threats towards their safety. Their personal address has been exposed. They have received graphic and racist threats. Mm-hmm. They are being targeted with violence and simply because their child is in the center of this tragedy. Mm-hmm. We are here just for this justice must be fair and impartial and protected from biases. We cannot allow racism and bigotry to divide us. We cannot allow white America to decide when and how black people can speak up against oppression. We do not pull the race card. We live it. Yes, this case is a tragedy.
This is a very important point that he made right here, and I want to emphasize this. He said, as black people, and I agree with him, we cannot let white folks determine when we decide to speak up about something or not. We can speak about and support what we want to support just like they do. He's damn right about that. Let's continue.
Anytime a child is lost, we mourn as a community. Our heart goes out to the family of Austin Metcalf, but we do not erase the right of the Anthony family to be protected and heard.
All right. Let's go over here and let you hear this part right here. He makes some good points right here. Here we go.
Let me be clear. The Anthony family cannot leave their home.
Boom. We heard that part right there about them not being able to leave their home. This is the part that I want you to hear. Here we go.
In the initial letter to the city that you raised serious questions about their thoroughness and fairness of the investigation, saying that you guys have spoken to coaches and other people that witnessed it and that they didn't follow up with them. Were you able to have that conversation with the assistant chief and resolve that?
I was able to have that question, and we were able to give those individual names up because the Next Generation Action Network do not want to interfere in the investigation. We're not going to release who they are, but we were able to have that conversation today. You know what I mean?
Did you hear what he's saying? There's other witnesses out here, folks. Let me just put myself up here full screen. There are other people that the police have not gone out and interviewed yet, which I find is weird. And these are people, Obviously, he's saying this because these are people who probably have an opposite point of view of what they witnessed between Karmelo Anthony, between Karmelo Anthony and Austin Metcalf. Obviously, there are people who have a different point of view that they haven't interviewed yet. Let's get back to it.
That's what prompted them to even be able to come. And also, we not only talked about people who were speaking out like that had information regarding the case, we also reported people in official capacities, like people who are teachers, government officials that have used their own personal social media to placate in the hate and the false narratives that are coming out against Karmelo Anthony. And we were able to report that information to them regarding it.
Did you hear that? What he's reported to the police department too? He's saying that there's false narratives. So all this narrative, I said this in the beginning of the show, this narrative about, oh, Karmelo Anthony's been caught with knives before, he got kicked out of school, for example. Those are part of the false narratives. He's talking about it here.
Do you stand by that though, that did they acknowledge that some witnesses have not been
Anthony, and we were able to report that information. And we were able to report that information to them regarding it.
Do you stand by that though, that did they acknowledge that some witnesses have not been contacted by police, or were you
to be
Did they acknowledge that some witnesses have not been contacted by police, or were you
to be exact, Frisco Police Department was able to tell me that they have interviewed over 75 people, and it's ongoing. But they did acknowledge that there are people who have not been interviewed in regards to this case. They are aware of that. That wasn't, like based on the information that we were getting, it was very hard for us.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, can you all hear me? Damn it, I had the same problem before. I don't know why I'm having these problems with audio, but you guys have been hearing me most of the stream. Let me play this back. Could you guys hear the actual video that I'm playing, but you just couldn't hear me talking? What I'm basically saying is, he's saying that there's several people out there that they have not interviewed, that they want the police department to interview, because I think these are people who will give favorable testimony that would go in Karmelo Anthony's on his side. Okay, so in the last clip, okay. You can hear me now? Sorry about that. I don't know why I've been having, but this is the thing. Even though y'all couldn't hear me talk, could you hear the last clip that I played in this one, even though my mic wasn't working? Let me know right now. Just want to make sure. Now we can hear. Yes, but could you hear the clips? The first clip of this guy and this one, even when you couldn't hear me. That's what's important to me right now. Now, yes, okay, good. So even though you guys couldn't hear me talking over it, I'm glad that you at least heard what he had to say, because that's most important. Let me play this back a little bit so you can get the point. We're getting close to the conclusion, everybody.
Frisco Police Department was able to tell me that they have interviewed over 75 people, and it's ongoing. But they did acknowledge that there are people who have not been interviewed in regards to this case. They are aware of that. That wasn't, like based on the information that we were getting, it was very hard for us to be able to, see what this investigation was going and how it was being together, because we didn't know what to trust.
You hear what he's saying, that they didn't know what to trust and how the investigation is going. This is bad. They can't, they're telling you, he's telling you the family don't know what to believe or who to trust. He's saying that they've interviewed about 75 people, but there's a bunch of other people out there that they haven't gotten to. I think that this is my opinion, comes off this way, but I'm not saying it's facts, but these might be people that have a more favorable point of view, as I said before, that goes to Karmelo Anthony's side. I just wonder. Let's get to the next video that's going to end our show today. It's a little controversial video. And, hey, it is what it is. Let's play something controversial. Okay? Here we go.
Kyle Rittenhouse, after he killed 2 people in cold blood, he raised over $1 million. Wait a minute.
So now let me stop this and bring this back. Let me set the scene for this and what's going on with this. So basically, there's people out there that's criticizing the fact that black people have been supporting Karmelo Anthony by giving money to the GoFundMe for his defense. I think the last time I checked, it may be up to about, let me know if I'm wrong, everybody, it may be up to $300,000. If you know that it's gone up from there, let me know, put it in the chat room. But as far as I know, it looks like he's earned $3,000. And what the brother is saying here, I think he's part of the Nation of Islam. I can't think of his name offhand, but he's basically saying, hey, Kyle Rittenhouse got $1 million. All these other white folks that went out there and did some reckless stuff, they got paid. They got money that the white community collected for them. And so when black people are doing the same thing, now it's a problem. Let me also go over something about Kyle Rittenhouse before I get to this video. There's something that I want to point out about Kyle Rittenhouse that I think people need to be reminded about. And that's this. We got Karmelo Anthony, right? And Karmelo Anthony, at the end of the day, he's 17 years old. He was defending himself because he felt threatened when he was attacked first. And unfortunately, he deleted and took the life of Austin Metcalf with a knife. Folks say he deserves to go to prison, right? Well, we had the same situation with Kyle Rittenhouse, right? Kyle Rittenhouse went into what? Kyle Rittenhouse actually deleted 2 people with an AR-15 because he said he felt threatened, even though he was the one who drove there across the state lines looking for a confrontation. Check this out. Did you know that Kyle Rittenhouse didn't have registry to that weapon that he had, meaning he was 17 years old. He was underage to have that weapon. He took a weapon from Wisconsin. And Wisconsin, you can have a gun, but it's not open carry out there, right? He took a weapon from Wisconsin into Minneapolis area, Minnesota. And in that particular state, you have to have a permit. So he took a weapon that he wasn't old enough to have into a state that he had no permit to have that weapon. And because 2 people, I think, put hands on him, I think one guy tried to hit him with a skateboard, he took their lives. And he was able to get away with the situation and be acquitted, even though he used a firearm and took not 1 person out, but 2 people out. Let's keep that in mind. Kyle Rittenhouse was acquitted of all charges, including homicide after pleading self-defense in 2021 trial following Kenosha shooting, and jury agreed that he acted in self-defense, right? Well, why not Karmelo Anthony? Why can't he get the same? I said it before. Why can't he get the same benefit of the doubt that Kyle Rittenhouse got? This is a devil's, and Kyle Rittenhouse, people gave him millions of dollars. He got over $1 million or $1 million after he took the life of two people, drove into a state looking for trouble, drove into a place where he knew stuff was happening, and he didn't have to go there. He didn't have to put himself in the middle of that stuff that happened out there. He put himself in a situation where he could get hands put on him. He put himself in that situation by driving into a state, into a protest where people were angry. He goes there with a weapon. Matter of fact, everybody, damn it, he was looking for trouble. Matter of fact, I remember now, because I did a video about this. I had footage of Kyle Rittenhouse driving. He was in a car and he was pointing his firearm at black people. There were some black guys and they were saying, "Man, why you pointing this weapon at us?" So Kyle Rittenhouse drove into that town looking for trouble, even pointed his firearm at some black guys that night. I know he did because I saw the video. So he was looking for trouble. Takes out two people, gets acquitted of all charges, they raised $1 million for him. He gets acquitted, and he's like the poster child for the off-right. So I don't want to hear nobody telling me some BS on this video in the comment section. I don't want to hear no BS in that comment section. You say something that's goofy, you're getting blocked out of here. If you say something that doesn't make legal sense, if it doesn't make legal sense, I ain't going to like that comment. If you're making legal sense, I can get with legal sense. Now let me play this. That's what I had to say, everybody. Thank you for your time. Let's get at it right now. Check this out.
Kyle Rittenhouse, after he killed two people.
Y'all could hear me.
In cold blood, he raised over $1 million. Wait a minute.
Let's
the
talk about
officer
that.
who killed Michael Brown, he raised almost $2 million. So don't tell me that when black folks decide to put money and support behind a young brother who did.
I hear what you're saying about Wisconsin. I'm talking about, listen to listen, you say there is no such thing as a gun registration in Wisconsin. He drove from Illinois to Wisconsin. They say before shooting, he did not bring the gun from Illinois. The gun was already in Wisconsin. I understand that. That's why I said in Wisconsin, but this is what I need you to understand. Kyle Rittenhouse wasn't of age to have the weapon. What's going on, Shirley Kimball? Kyle Rittenhouse, from all accounts, if you go back and look at it, he had a rifle that he was not of the proper age to have it. So he had no business with the rifle because he was not of the proper age. He took said rifle from Wisconsin, drove into, Minneapolis, Minnesota. He drove into another state, crossed state lines, going into a place where he knew there was going to be some issues going on that night. He took it upon himself to go there, calling himself being he going to protect a particular another state, claimed that he had family over there, but he drove over there. I saw footage that I had on my own channel of him pointing his weapon at black people in particular before that other incident took place. Listen to what I'm saying. He drove into another state with a weapon that he had no permit for in the state of Minnesota. I already looked up the law in Minnesota. In Minnesota, you have to have a permit on your weapon. He had a weapon in another state that he got from Wisconsin that he was not even old enough to have in Wisconsin. So even if he was old enough to have it in Minneapolis, guess what? He had no permit for the weapon, which means he had no business with the weapon without a permit, sir. That's all I'm trying to say. These are the facts. You get facts on my channel.
Tell the truth.
You get facts over here. Go look it up. All you got to do is say, do you need a permit to have a weapon in the state of Minnesota, Minneapolis area? So it doesn't matter. And even in Wisconsin, where he was from, it came out in the wash that he wasn't old enough to have that rifle in the first. So he violated 2 laws in both states. Wisconsin, where he shouldn't have had that weapon until he was of age to have it. And in Minnesota, Minneapolis, where he was supposed to have a permit, and then he crossed that weapon into state lines where he was not registered to have that weapon in their state. So he violated both sides of the equation. Anybody, I dare you to argue with me that right now. What's your argument to that? What's your comeback on that one? Nobody can have a comeback on what I just said because it's the law. I'm not dealing with ifs, maybes. I'm talking about the law because I looked at the law. This is where Kyle Rittenhouse was wrong, but still got acquitted of all charges and taking the lives of 2 people. Right, Jonathan Kidd, thank you, my brother. Thank you. I gotta find, man, I wish I gotta find that footage. Damn it. I hope I didn't delete that video. I did a video. Maybe I'll go back into my video archives. I think I will. I'm going to find the video that I did about this, and I'm going to let y'all, I'm going to do a small little video and let y'all see it for yourself. He was pointing that gun at people. Damn it, everybody, listen to me. I'm going to shut all the naysayers up right here and now. I'm going to find that video. I'm going to look at my channel and see what video I did that video on. If not, I'm going to dig up that video. I'm going to do a 8-minute, 7-minute video, whatever, upload, whatever the hell I got to do. And I'm going to show y'all the video where he was over there pointing his gun specifically at black people, playing around with his gun. And you had a black guy, a couple of black guys or a black guy telling him, dude, why are you pointing your weapon at us? He was even, you even had some white folks out there that was trying to run him down. What I'm trying to tell y'all, the reason, see, y'all think, oh, they put hands on Kyle Rittenhouse just because. I'm telling you, the reason why Kyle Rittenhouse got the treatment that he got that night in Croatia, the reason why he got the treatment that he got, because people saw him pointing his weapon at people, his firearm, and he was pointing his firearm at black guys. Then you had white folks that was sick of what he was doing. I think the reason why they put hands on him because they remember seeing him throughout the night playing around with his weapon, pointing at people. And they finally said, let's get our hands on him. I'm here to make the argument that Kyle Rittenhouse brought what happened to him on himself because he went out there being loose and wild with his firearm and people were looking to get their hands on him. And when they did, that's when he said, pow, pow, and took the lives of 2 people, 2 white boys, and got off for it on self-defense when they should have shown footage in the court of him driving around in a car or walking around and pointing that weapon at somebody, because there were other white folks that picked him up that night that was down with what he was doing when he was in somebody's car pointing his weapon. So I think there were people that were looking for this white boy that night, and when they found him, they unfortunately wind up being deleted by this white boy. Everybody that's listening, deal with what I just said. Deal with it. Deal with it. And I do mean deal with it. Now, let's get back to this video.
Kyle Rittenhouse, after he killed 2 people in cold blood, he raised over $1 million. Wait a minute.
Let's
the
talk about
officer
that.
who killed Michael Brown, he raised almost $2 million. So don't tell me that when black folks decide to put money and support behind a young brother who didn't start a fight, who didn't threaten nobody, who was sitting where he could have right to be sitting, was threatened.
You're absolutely right. The police protected him. You even had, look, I remember this. You even had people that were out there protesting, pointing to the police and telling the police what he was doing. The police out there let him get away with what he did. They knew he was walking around with a whipping. They allowed Kyle Rittenhouse to walk through that community with that whipping because that's the reason why people were attacking him, because they saw what he was doing. And when they were trying to get the police attention, they did nothing. Let that be a black person walking around with their own whipping. Let that be a black person walking through a community with a whipping doing a riot. You think the police are doing a protest? You think the police gonna let a black man or a black teenager walk around with a whipping in hand without them putting hands on him? You got to be out your mind. Let's get back to it.
Who killed Michael Brown? He raised almost $2 million. So don't tell me that when black folks decide to put money and support behind a young brother who didn't start a fight, who didn't threaten nobody, who was sitting where he could have right to be sitting, was threatened more than one time, was physically attacked, he defends himself, and then all of a sudden he's in jail for murder. But guess what, brother? We gonna stand behind ours like you white folks stand behind yours.
Okay, let me
that
be
young
clear.
brother was attacked.
That's right.
He defended himself.
There it is, everybody. Peace, everybody. Thank you for watching the program tonight. We're going to get ready to get on out of here. Everybody, make sure you do me the biggest favor. Share this video on all your social media. Tell somebody that you love them. Look, everybody, at the end of the day, we don't want to see people lose their life. We don't want to see people be deleted. I'm not an advocate of pushing violence. I don't want to see any of this stuff happen. Austin Metcalf should have never lost his life. He should be alive with his family, the whole 9 yards. Same thing, Karmelo Anthony should be with his family. He shouldn't be in jail because he should have not brought a knife and take it to that level. But it happened. We can't change what happened, but what we can do is learn from what happened. Young people out there, do not settle your battles with people through using weapons or even firearms. If a situation is happening, go get an adult. If you got to defend yourself with knuckles. Now, just like Joe Brown said, if someone comes after you with a knife, then you use equal force against them with your knife. If they come after you with a firearm, you use equal force with your firearm. But if you're in if it's just about fighting with knuckles, fight with knuckles, because at least you can live to see the next day. Although we don't want to see any violence, period. We don't want to see anybody fighting. This is a damn shame. This is all over a seat at a damn stadium. It's a shame. I wish it would have never happened. I wish Karmelo was with his family, enjoying himself on this weekend. And I wish Austin Metcalf was alive, because if he was alive, guess what? Karmelo Anthony would not be sitting in a jail cell right now wondering what's going to happen to him. And his family would not be dealing with racial threats, life threats, and being cooped up in their home for their own protection. All of this is a damn shame. But at the same time, we're living in a different age today. You can't put your hands on people. You can't touch people. You never know what a person's going to do. We live in an unpredictable world now where you don't know if a person that you touch, you put hands on, you don't know if they're going to pull out a firearm, a knife, or they're going to fight you with your knuckles. You just don't know. So why not stop touching people? Don't escalate anything. Don't even allow it to get to that point, because we don't know what people are capable of doing. And if someone feels threatened, they're going to do what they got to do to protect themselves if they feel threatened. This is just the truth, everybody. Not everybody likes it, but we got to say what it is. Everybody listen.
Say that Anthony told the officer he was protecting himself, and that he said Metcalf put his hands on him. And we say that Anthony told the officer he was protecting himself, and that he said Metcalf put his hands on him. And we say that Anthony told the officer he was protecting himself, and that he said Metcalf put his hands on him. And we say that Anthony told the officer.
Take care, everybody. Peace. Tell somebody you love them. Appreciate you. Thank you, everybody. Peace, everybody. We're out of here. Thank you. This is the Information Man Show. I told you I'm coming with truth. Always truth over here. Always truth. The Defiant Lawyer Network. Go check out his channel. Great channel. He broke it down. They violated Karmelo Anthony's Fifth Amendment right by not reading to him his Miranda rights. Peace, everybody. Peace.
Keep your hands off of people. Keep your hands off of people. Keep your hands off of people.